Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. And today's talk is going to be all about relationships, how to keep them stronger, how to grow, how to develop. And I have none other than Cristie Cerniglia. And she's had a very interesting experience that she shared with me, talking about how she saved her marriage and the principles, the books, the resources that she used to help her. And now she helps couples win their marriages. And for a lot of the audience out there who are struggling in their marriages, stale, divorced, newly divorced, single, separated, this conversation is for you. So, Cristie, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I know you have a really interesting journey, and so share what you just shared with me, and I'm happy to dive right into the conversation.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm Cristie Cerniglia. I live in Lexington, Kentucky with my husband, and tomorrow is our 30th anniversary, if you can believe it. And I'm only 32, so I don't know how this works, but anyway, we have 4 kids and 3 grandkids. And like I shared with you a minute ago, we've always been pretty happy in our marriage. But about 3 years ago, there was some bumps in our road that had been going on for quite some time. And I'm a big reader. I like to read. I had read all the marriage books. We had been to lots of conferences and even counseling, and nothing was hitting the spot, if you know what I mean. And so I came across a new book, and it's called The Empowered Wife. It's written by Laura Doyle. It's a New York Times best-selling book, and it was different than all the others I had read. And it really pointed to me and said, these are some changes you can make as a woman without your husband's involvement to really transform your marriage. And I thought, well, that's crazy because he's the one with all the problems, right? Because we always think it's the other person that needs to change. So I read the book. I started to implement the principles. I really saw a difference in what was happening and the way we were interacting and the way he was responding to me. And so I hired a coach. And as soon as I had my first call with her, I said, that's what I want to do. I want to do what she's doing because I loved it. And I've always been passionate about marriage and family, mainly because my parents divorced out of the clear blue sky when I was a senior in high school, and it was super painful. And I said, I never want that to happen to me.
Yeah, I'm sure, because growing up, I was, I'm a kind of a Gen X. I'm the very tail end of Gen X millennial. And I remember like when I was like 5 years old, divorce was like a taboo word. And then I'm in my 20s and like everybody's getting divorced. It's like the new thing. And, my parents also suffered the same things as everybody else. So one thing is talking about is, okay, so I love this. I love pinpointing the exact moment, and you share with us the empowered wife, which will in the show notes, but share a specific turning point realization that really changed the way you interacted with your husband and how it impacted your relationship.
hmm Well, like I said, I really thought that he needed to change. And as long as I believed that he was the one that needed to change, that left me hopeless and helpless
Mm.
and really like a victim. There's nothing I can do to be happy because it's all in his court. And I did not like that feeling. So when the book began to point out that I could change,
Mm.
and that his behavior is impacted by me, that as women, we are very influential and we can influence the tone of our home. Like people say, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy, right? So I started to feel empowered, like, oh, I can make a difference in the marriage no matter what he does or doesn't do.
Mhm.
That was a real turning point for me. And I did find out that when I showed up in different ways, that he responded differently. We call it the wife mirror, right? That the husband looks at the wife to see, kind of where are we? What are we doing? And if she's looking at him with disgust and frustration and all of that, that's not going to go well, right? But when I started showing up happy and pleasable and respectful
Mhm.
and fun, everything changed.
Interesting. And then what the next question I have for you is this I love how you showed up and you transformed. A lot of when the audience is listening to this, they may think, especially for the females, are like, yeah, but I'm not gonna be subservient to my husband. It's kind of, we're in the 21st century. We've got Me Too. How do you address these people that are like, yeah, I'm not gonna be beta to my husband, and how you make these relationships work. They're like, I'm not going to fit these traditional roles. I'm going to be a career woman, may or may not have kids. I want to make my mark. How do you address those?
Yeah, well, a lot of the ladies who show up to me show up and say, Cristie, why do I have to do all the work? He's the one who needs to change. Why are you telling me what to do to make the
Yeah.
marriage better? Well, to me, I think it's wonderful news, because otherwise you're like I was, you're just stuck and you're unhappy and there's nothing you can do about it. Do you like the way that feels? No, I want to have some power in this situation. And so, yeah, if I'm willing to make those changes, then I can get more of what I want, which is affection and attention and help around the house and all those things. That's what I'm going to get when I practice these skills. So this is not subservient. This is not bowing down to his anything. This is really learning how to be happier as a woman and attracting my husband back to me. Because you know what? Think about what I was like when we were dating versus what I'm like today, right? Life looks a lot different. And some of that fun girl, that lighthearted girl who laughed all the time and everything, some of that has gotten buried under all of my responsibilities, right? I've got a house, I've got kids, I've got grandkids, I've got a husband, we've got businesses. There's a lot of stress and pressure. But what I need is to start doing some things for myself that make me happy so that I can show up like that girl that he asked out on the first date and that he proposed to. And I can do that because all of that is still in me. And all the things that attracted me to him are still in there too. Yeah. But his great qualities have gotten buried too underneath responsibility and stress and all that. But when I show up as that girl of fun and light, guess what? He starts showing up as that guy that I said, yes, I can't wait to marry you.
Interesting. And which brings me to my other question was, because I was talking to another relationship coach the other day, and we were talking about this concept of marriage, and I think the divorce rate, they say, is 50%. I think it's much higher than that, and a lot of people are not getting married these days. And she was telling me that she thinks that marriage is a practical thing. It's like she's entering into a business partnership and relationship, and that the people that get married for love are kind of in kind of a fantasy land. I know that's that may rub people the wrong way, but I'm just bringing these thoughts out there so we can discuss it. But how would you respond to that?
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun at all. That doesn't sound fun. I want to be married to my best friend, right? I want to have a companion on life's journey. And I want to have, I do want to have some of that matchup that I think she's talking about with those core beliefs and things like that, so that we're kind of moving in the same direction. Yeah. But I want to have fun. I want to have romance. I want to have connection. I want to feel that love, and I want to receive some of that romance. And so a business operation doesn't sound warm and fuzzy to me. And I think we can have the love. I think it's really sad that somebody would think that it has to be like a business partnership, because I think we can have the love, but we do have to put some intentional time in. And that's part of the problem, is that we are very busy people today, right? We've got a lot going on. We got a lot of balls in the air. And so I'm going to have to put a little bit of time and intention into this most important relationship, because it's not only about my marriage, but it's about my family. And so that's really important to me.
Yeah, I love that. Moving on to overcoming challenges, there's always ups and downs. Can you share a story where you applied your skills to overcome a challenging situation and what the outcomes were?
Yeah, I would say part of what my issue was that I didn't realize it was a complete blind spot for me, but I complained a lot. And I didn't know I complained a lot. And I didn't know how it impacted my husband. So just for something really simple and basic, I might say to my husband, gosh, it's hot in here, right? I don't think anything about it. I'm just sharing the way I feel, right?
Yeah.
But guess what? My husband received that as a personal criticism. He saw that as she's complaining about the heating and air, which is under my domain of, manliness. And what does she want me to do? Like, why is she so hard to please? Why is she so critical? And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I haven't said anything about you. You know what I mean? Like, I just thought it was a simple thing. But to him, it was complaining, it was naggy, it was disrespectful. I'm like, oh. So I had to begin to see my own blind spots where I was showing up kind of gripey, complaining, criticizing, and start showing up a little bit happier and easier to please.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I have the same situation with my wife, and when I express that, it kind of feels like kind of I wouldn't say belittling, but just kind of criticizing me. But then she has the response where it's like, yeah, but then you stifle me and she can't express herself. So now she has to like second guess what she can express and not. So how do you resolve that? I'm just like,
yeah. That's because I felt the same way, like, oh, so I can't say anything. I can't say, but it's not true. What I learned is that I can express my desires in a way that inspires. So another example for you is that we would take my car on the weekends, okay, to all the family stuff, right? The soccer games and the baseball and the church and all this kind of stuff. And by the end of the weekend, my car would be trashed. Everybody left their water bottles, their bar wrappers, their fast food, all that junk in my car. And I would get so aggravated that I would give a wonderful motivational speech on the way home. And it would go something like this. Everybody needs to clean their junk out of my car. I'm sick and tired of my car being dirty, blah, 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 right? Well, come to find out, nobody thought it was motivational. Everybody thought, oh my gosh, get away from mom. She's in a mood, right? And so nobody did anything to help me. I did not get what I wanted. What I wanted was a clean car, but I didn't motivate anybody because it was critical and complaining. So what I started to do was express my desire in a way that inspired. And so I would say, I would love to have a clean car, right? And guess what happened? My husband said, I'll take it over and get it cleaned today. And so we get out of the car and he takes it down to the car wash and gets it all cleaned up. But I made another mistake. When he came home from cleaning the car, I ran out there to meet him and I opened up the car door. And I saw some stuff in the carpet that they didn't get and some other stuff. And then I saw some dirt on the door and I started to wipe it in. And I look at my husband and the look on his face tells the whole story. What he's thinking is, are you kidding me? I did exactly what you wanted and you're still not happy. That's what he was thinking. As soon as I saw it, I said, I'm so sorry. And I closed the door because see, again, I think that I'm criticizing the people who did the car wash. But he feels that I'm criticizing him and that he can't please me. Yeah. And what he wants is a happy wife, right? He wants a happy wife. And so I said to him, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for going to get the car cleaned. I love it. It looks fantastic. I really appreciate you, right? Because everybody wants to be acknowledged. Everybody wants to feel that gratitude. And so I figured out through that lesson, express my desire in a way that inspires, and then show up with some gratitude and be pleasable. And guess what? When I do that, he wants to do more things to please me because he wants me happy.
I love that because like I said, a relationship is, it's, a marriage is very, like, it takes a lot of work, especially in these days. And I wanted to ask your viewpoint from your viewpoint is because our society is like really moving very quickly. We got swipe left and right. We have the internet, we have social media, people are not having kids, and so do you think that the institution of marriage and this the family is breaking down, and is it salvageable? Because what you're describing to me takes a lot of work, and I've seen very very famous, successful people, and they, like I said, it's like the idea of marriage and a family is great, but if it's not for you, or if you're not ready for it, it can really
Mhm.
take you by storm. So what are your thoughts?
Gosh, I hope not. I
Mm,
believe that marriage and family is the foundation of
mm,
our society, and I don't know how we
mhm,
can expect to raise happy, healthy kids without that security of a nice home base.
mhm,
And so I sure hope that people are willing to invest into their relationships to keep their marriage and family together, because I think that it's plain to see when you look around that people don't want to do this life alone. They
mm,
want to be partnered and they want to have a companion.
mhm.
And so let's do it well, right? I don't do this job so that people will stay married. I do this job so that people will thrive in marriage. And I believe that it's possible because we chose each other, right? We
Yeah.
don't live in a society where your mom and dad forced you to marry this stranger. We live in a society where we get to pick. And isn't that wonderful? And I believe it can work, and it can work really well, but sometimes we need help. Hey, nobody gave us a class on successful marriage in high school. Nobody taught us any skills for good relationships. So don't be ashamed. Come and find some help, right? I don't think that marriage counseling is the answer. I think that when two people go and sit on a couch and complain about each other for an hour, I don't think anybody goes home happier or excited about the future. But I do think that coaching, where we put the past behind us and we say, okay, where are we today? And where are we wanting to go? What's your vision for a beautiful marriage? And we move toward that. I think that's the answer. I think taking action toward the future is the answer. And I'm excited to support women who are ready and motivated to do what it takes. And I don't think it's that much work either. We can make it sound really difficult, but
Mm.
in the beginning, when I started practicing these skills, sometimes they were awkward, right? Because it wasn't the way I was used to responding for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
But the more I did it and I saw the results, the more motivated I was to continue to do it, and the more natural it became. And now a lot of these skills are my natural go-to now. So it doesn't take long to make the changes that need to be made and to see the results that you want to see.
So I really love your passion, and I can really tell that you've really honed these skills. And you talk about 6 intimacy skills that are crucial for reviving and maintaining a healthy marriage. And can you
Mhm.
break down 1 or 2 of these skills for our listeners, and how implementing these can make a significant difference in their relationships?
Yeah, I'd love to. And I just want to mention too, I focus on marriage, but I have seen these results really help in my relationship with my mom, my brother, my adult kids, my teenage kids. So these are relationship skills that will help you with your coworkers. Okay. But one of the very first skill that we start with, and this is the one that when women read the book, they want to skip over it because they go, eh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's self care. And the reason we talk about self care is because, like we talked about earlier, women are buried underneath responsibility and caring for others, and they forget to take care of themselves. And the problem with that is that we're not very happy when we don't do things that we enjoy, when we're just serving and giving all the time. We get bitter and resentful, and those two things are poison for a marriage. Okay. And so I'm not saying that you're at the spa all day, every day. All I'm saying is that maybe you read a chapter in a book that you enjoy and you do it just for you. Maybe you go for a walk and listen to a podcast. Maybe you have coffee with a friend. Whatever it is that you enjoy, you need to start taking care of you, because until you get your own oxygen mask on, you are not going to be fit to serve and love the people around you. And your husband wants you to show up happy, not resentful and bitter. So I always start with self care, because you know what? Miserable people do not have happy relationships. Happy people do. So I want you to get happy first and foremost.
I love that. It's so powerful. Um, so a lot of the listeners out there are really attracted to your energy and your work, and So how can, end it on what are the key ingredients to making a marriage last forever? And how can people find you and follow you on socials, etc.?
Yeah, my business is called Relationships with a Map. And so my website is relationshipswithamap.org. And I would love to set up a free phone call with you and just find out, like, can I support you? How can I support you? What would be best in your particular situation? And do you feel like we're a fit? Because we need to fit, right? We need to match up in order to work together. So I do discovery calls all the time to do that. And then we can do one-on-one coaching. We can do group coaching. I do a workshop where I explain all of the 6 intimacy skills. And each woman just really goes at her own pace, right? Each situation is different, but it is miraculous how the husbands respond to these skills.
I love that. And for all the audience, let's thank for coming onto the podcast and for the energy. Be sure to follow Cristie's socials, give her a like as well, and reach out to her if any of these concepts and principles resonate with you. And with that, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Lots of fun.